the trap you don't see. Listen, yesterday I saw a guy at a bar. He swore he was done drinking. Swore this was his last time. He even told his friends, "I can't keep living like this." You could see the conviction in his eyes. But an hour later, there he was, glass in hand, laughing, as if the promise never happened. And I thought to myself, isn't that all of us? Maybe it's not alcohol for you. Maybe it's food. Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's toxic relationships, or endless excuses. Whatever the poison is, the pattern looks the same. You promise yourself, never again. You swear this is the last time. And then, like a puppet, you pull the exact same string. You call it weakness. You call it laziness. You call it bad habits. But let me tell you the truth. Sabotage isn't random. It isn't a mistake. It isn't even just bad discipline. Sabotage is an addiction. And here's the terrifying part. You're not addicted to alcohol, or food, or your phone. You're addicted to the feeling of self-destruction. Think about it. Why do you keep going back to the very thing you swore you'd escape? Because on some level it feels good. It gives you relief. It numbs you. It distracts you. But think, get to lives by your life comfort, your awaker's moment, your life makes plan a plan. Addiction lives in the loop. The loop where you sabotage progress because progress feels unfamiliar and pain feels safe. I'll give you an example. You start a diet. Day 1, you feel unstoppable. Day 2, you're proud. Day 3, stress hits. Suddenly, the fridge starts whispering to you. One snack, one cheat. You tell yourself it's harmless. And just like that, the loop begins again. The bar guy doesn't drink because he's thirsty. He drinks because he's addicted to the cycle. And so are you. You want success, but you're addicted to distraction. You want love, but you're addicted to drama. You want freedom, but you're addicted to your cage. That's the trap you don't see. The trap isn't the drink. It isn't the phone. It isn't the donut. The trap is the pattern. The loop that your brain finds more comfortable than change. Here's what's worse. Your brain rewards you for it. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you get a tiny chemical hit. A moment of escape. And escape feels like safety. But safety is a lie. So you live trapped, smiling on the outside, numb on the inside, convincing yourself tomorrow will be different, while pulling the same old strings today. And until you admit sabotage is an addiction, not a mistake, you'll stay stuck in that invisible cage. Because here's the truth you don't want to face. Your biggest enemy isn't out there, it's in here. The trap isn't external, the trap is you. Why the brain loves pain? Crazy, right? Why would you be addicted to pain? Why would you keep running back to the very thing that ruins you? The answer is simple. Your brain was never designed for happiness. It was designed for survival. And survival doesn't mean joy. It means repetition, patterns, familiarity. Even if those patterns are slowly destroying you, think of it like this. Your brain is a machine from the Stone Age, trapped in the body of a modern human. Back then, comfort meant safety. Familiarity meant survival. If you ate the same berries yesterday and didn't die, you eat them again today. If you hid in the same cave last night and weren't eaten, you go back to that cave tonight. Same pattern, same safety, same result. But here's the problem. In the modern world, survival patterns don't just keep you safe, they keep you stuck. That's why you cling to destructive habits. They're familiar, they're predictable. And your brain would rather choose predictable pain than unpredictable growth. It's like that rat in a lab pressing a lever for cocaine. The rat knows, on some primitive level, that it's destroying itself, but it doesn't care. Why? Because the dopamine hit now feels stronger than the consequences later. That's you. Every time you self-sabotage, you want the rush of comfort, the hit of distraction, the buzz of escape, right now. Tomorrow? That's future you's problem. Let's be honest. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start Monday, and when Monday came you hit snooze? Or maybe you said, just one more episode, just one more scroll, Just one more bite. And before you knew it, weeks had passed. That's not an accident. That's your survival brain, hacking your future, trading tomorrow's growth for today's relief. See, pain isn't just physical. Pain is the hard conversation you avoid, the business you don't start, the workout you skip. Your brain looks at these things and screams, danger, unfamiliar, don't go there. And so, instead, it guides you back to the cycle you know. But here's the twist. The very pain you're avoiding is the only path to growth, and the comfort you keep choosing, that's the real danger. Think about it. The pain of lifting weights makes you stronger. The pain of discipline builds freedom. The pain of truth creates real relationships. Pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the currency of progress. But your brain doesn't care about progress. It only cares about patterns. And patterns don't ask, is this good for me? Patterns only ask, is this familiar? So you end up addicted, not just to the habit, but to the loop. Addicted to comfort. Addicted to the relief of not facing the harder path. Addicted to self-destruction disguised as safety. And until you recognize that your brain loves pain, because pain equals predictability, you'll keep pressing the lever. Just like the rat. Just like every addict. Just like you, every time you trade tomorrow's future for today's fix. That's why you keep sabotaging yourself. Not because you're weak. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain would rather you stay the same than risk becoming something more. The hidden high of self-sabotage. Here's the brutal truth. Sabotage feels good. That cigarette you swore you'd quit. That late-night binge you promised was the last one. That toxic text you knew you shouldn't send but typed anyway. It's not the act you're addicted to. It's the relief. Relief from pressure. Relief from boredom. Relief from facing the truth about your life. That's why sabotage feels irresistible. It's not just a bad habit. It's anesthesia. It's a drug for the soul. And your brain, your clever little addict, has learned how to disguise it. It whispers, just one more. I'll start tomorrow. And like a fool, you obey. Think about it. You've had a stressful day, deadlines, responsibilities, expectations, and then you grab that bag of chips, that drink, that endless scroll. For a moment, just a moment, the weight disappears. That's the high, that's the hook. And here's the scary part. Your brain doesn't care that it destroys you. It only cares that, for a second, it soothes you. It's like lighting your house on fire to keep warm for the night. Comfort now, ashes later. This is why you keep falling into the same patterns. Not because you don't know better, you do. But because sabotage offers something dangerously addictive. Temporary escape. Let's break it down. Sabotage gives you 3 flavors of relief. First, relief from pressure. That assignment, that workout, that conversation, you delay it. And in the moment of delay, the pressure lifts. You feel free. But tomorrow, the pressure doubles. Second, relief from boredom. Life feels empty, mundane, and then, ping! A notification, a drink, a snack. Suddenly, the void is filled, not with meaning, but with noise. Third, relief from truth. This is the deepest cut, because sabotage helps you avoid the mirror. As long as you're scrolling, drinking, eating, chasing, there's no time to face yourself. No time to admit you're not how you could be. That's why sabotage is so seductive. It shields you from the unbearable silence of reality. But here's the trap. Every time you sabotage, you reinforce the loop. You train your brain, get relief. You turn escape into your drug of choice. And like any drug, the high gets shorter, the crash gets harder. The craving gets stronger. You think you're chasing pleasure, but you're not. You're chasing numbness. You're chasing the ability to not feel, not think, not face. And that's why you're stuck. Here's what no one tells you. The high of sabotage always comes with interest. You borrow comfort from the future, and the debt always comes due, in regret, in wasted time, in self-loathing. So the next time you feel that urge, that itch to sabotage, pause. Ask yourself, am I really enjoying this? Or am I just renting relief that I'll have to pay back later? Because once you see sabotage for what it really is, not pleasure, not fun, not freedom, but anesthesia, you can finally start to break the spell. Until then, you'll stay hooked. High on your own destruction. smiling through the relief, blind to the cost, the casino of the mind. Let me give you an image. Picture a slot machine. You pull the lever, and most of the time, nothing. A loss. But every now and then, the lights flash, the bells ring, and you win. Not enough to change your life, just enough to keep you playing. That unpredictability, that's what makes it addictive. Now, here's the twist. Sabotage works the same way. Think about it. Sometimes staying up all night scrolling ruins you, groggy, angry, drained. But sometimes, it makes you feel connected, entertained, alive. Sometimes calling your ex rips your heart out, but sometimes it sparks a thrill, a memory, a rush. Sometimes skipping the gym leaves you feeling guilty, but sometimes it feels like sweet freedom. That unpredictability, that maybe this time, is the hook. And your brain is hopelessly addicted to maybe. Psychologists call this a variable reward schedule. It's the most powerful addiction mechanism ever discovered. Stronger than certainty, stronger than pain, because certainty gets boring, but uncertainty keeps you coming back. Let's put it bluntly, you don't sabotage because it works. You sabotage because it might work. Maybe this scroll will bring the post that changes everything. Maybe this text will reopen the door. But you don't have to keep pulling the lever. You can walk out. Right now. The question is, will you? Breaking the loop. So how do you break free? Here's what most people get wrong. They try to fight addiction with willpower. But willpower is a battery, and batteries die. That's why you make promises at night and break them in the morning. That's why you swear you'll quit, swear this time is different, and then watch yourself repeat the same cycle. You're trying to win a war with a weapon that runs out of charge. You need something stronger. You need a system. Think about it. A drug addict doesn't just decide to quit. They don't keep hanging out with their dealer. They don't keep drugs in the cabinet, just in case. They change their environment. They burn the bridges. They make sabotage harder and growth easier. And that's exactly what you have to do. You say you're addicted to scrolling? Delete the apps. Block the sites. Move the temptations farther away than your impulses can reach. You say you're addicted to junk food? Don't keep it in the house. Make yourself drive at 2 a.m. if you want it. Most nights, you won't. You say you're addicted to the wrong people? Stop answering their calls. Stop orbiting their lives. Cut the line and watch how much lighter you feel. Here's the truth. You don't quit a bad habit, you replace it. Because your brain doesn't live in a vacuum. If you remove the ritual and don't replace it, the void will pull you back into the old loop. That's why diets fail. That's why detoxes fail. You can't just subtract. You need to substitute. Scrolling gets replaced with walking. Binge eating gets replaced with cooking. Toxic texting gets replaced with journaling or calling someone who lifts you higher. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to build replacements that compete with the old highs. And here's the deeper secret. Every time you choose the better ritual, you starve the old one. Habits are like wolves. The one you feed grows. The one you starve withers. At first, sabotage will howl. It will scream. It will claw for your attention. That's normal. That's withdrawal. But the longer you starve it, the weaker it gets. Until one day, you wake up and realize the loop is gone. The slot machine doesn't pull you anymore. The craving doesn't own you anymore. Freedom doesn't come from fighting your addiction. Freedom comes from starving it. And starving it isn't about strength. It's about design. The systems you build, the triggers you remove, the rituals you replace. So stop relying on willpower. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start rearranging your world so sabotage has nowhere left to hide. Because once the loop breaks, once the system is rewired, you'll realize something shocking. It was never about being strong enough. It was about being smart enough to stop feeding your own destruction. The new addiction. Here's the secret. The only way out of sabotage is not resistance, not denial, not endless self-control. It's replacement. You can't just stop being addicted. The human brain doesn't work that way. Your brain craves stimulation. It craves dopamine. And dopamine doesn't care where the hit comes from. Destruction or growth. Numbness or progress. All it registers is, that felt good. Do it again. So the only way out of sabotage is to build a new addiction. Not to pain, not to distraction, not to scrolling, smoking, binging, or escaping, but to progress. And here's the trick. Not massive, impossible progress. Not the I'll change my life overnight fantasy that collapses by day 3. I'm talking about tiny progress, atomic progress. The little wins that look insignificant, but rewire your brain one spark at a time. Write one page, do one push-up, make one honest decision you used to avoid. That's it. That's the new drug. Because when you start feeding your brain progress, it begins to shift. What used to feel irresistible, escape, becomes boring. What used to feel boring, discipline, becomes irresistible. Here's an example. Let you wake one's one. It won, reach your, you won, it won, one. That's how addicts are made, small doses, repeated. Except now, you're addicted to progress. Same with fitness. Don't aim for an hour in the gym, do one push-up. 1. Your brain says, hey, that wasn't so bad. Tomorrow, 2. Next week, 10. Before you know it, the push-up is the slot machine. You want to pull the lever again. That's how rewiring works. Not in giant leaps, but in micro moments. And here's the best part. Progress compounds. Unlike sabotage, which robs your future, progress pays interest. One page becomes a book. One push-up becomes a body. One honest decision becomes a new identity. So ask yourself, what addiction are you feeding? Every day, you're making deposits. Into sabotage or into progress? Into the casino of maybe or into the certainty of growth? The truth is, you don't escape addiction by quitting. You escape by choosing your drug. And the only drug worth choosing, the only one that doesn't destroy you, is progress. Because when you get addicted to progress, everything changes. The same dopamine that once chained you to destruction now pulls you toward transformation. And the day progress feels better than sabotage, that's the day you're free. The choice only you can make. Here's the part you don't want to hear. Most of you won't do this. You'll nod, you'll agree, you'll even feel inspired for a moment. And then tomorrow, you'll wake up, grab your phone, pull the same lever, and step right back into the same loop. Because addiction is comfortable. Because sabotage feels safe. Because pain, no matter how destructive, is familiar. And let's be honest, familiarity feels easier than change. But for the 2% of you who actually act, for the ones who uninstall the apps, throw out the junk, cut off the toxic ties, and replace sabotage with progress, you'll discover something terrifying and beautiful. Freedom. Not freedom from pain. Life will always have pain. Not freedom from struggle. You'll still face battles. But freedom from the cage you built for yourself, the invisible prison of your habits, your excuses, your self-sabotage. The bars you kept gripping, even though the door was never locked. When you finally let go, when you starve the old addiction and feed the new one, something incredible happens. Sabotage dies. The slot machine stops calling your name. The lever loses its shine. And suddenly, the life you thought was impossible, the one where you're not chained to escape, where you actually move forward, is right there, waiting. But here's the truth you can't run from. No one can make this choice for you. Not me, not your friends, not your family, not even the pain you're running from. The choice is yours. Repeat the cycle, or break it. Stay addicted, or walk free. Choose comfort, or choose growth. And here's the part that should sting. Deep down, you already know which one you need. You've known it for years. Every time you sabotaged, every time you scrolled, every time you promised yourself never again. You knew. You knew you were wasting your life. You knew you were trading freedom for anesthesia. So the question isn't whether you know what to do. You do. The question is, will you actually do it? Most won't. Most will keep playing the slot machine until their life is gone. Most will stay in the cage and call it safety. But if you're part of the 2%, if you're willing to suffer the withdrawal, cut the triggers, build the systems, and get addicted to progress, Then everything changes. Not overnight, not instantly, but piece by piece, page by page, push up by push up. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you're free. The lever is still there, the cage is still there, but they don't own you anymore. You walked out. Now the choice is yours. Which will it be?